Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is Quackcast number 750. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Baines and Tant Serene. Hello.
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 Hello, hello, hello. And this week we're talking about censorship, which is always interesting because we've talked about that before, but there is a particular catalyst. Furwork Studio has brought an interesting topic to bear. Oh, but first, theme song. That was our little theme tune, which is something about a goddess of thunder. I can't remember, but it's a cool theme tune. All right, so we're going to be talking about Furwork Studios' post about this Aussie thing that's happened. I'm an Aussie, but I don't know everything that happens here. God, something about Tance described it to me about people deplatforming people and taking away their ability to earn money, which is really unfortunate. We'll talk about censorship and social media and all that kind of stuff. First, we've got to get into the featured comic. Quackcast is going to tell us about a featured comic, chief featured, called Dragon Asylum. So, Quai, tell us about Dragon Asylum. No.
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I've selected for this week is Dragon Asylum by Art of Jerbear Comics, and it is rated T for teen. A molten monster is wreaking havoc throughout a city. According to two bystanders, a giant green alien dragon vigilante has decided to take on the monster by going full beatdown mode. Elsewhere, a macabre villain seeks out new victims, while two unsuspecting detectives road-tripping through New Mexico make a pit stop at a diner before becoming witnesses to a green alien dragon sighting with a side of toast. Golden Age of Comics art style. Action scenes shown in vibrant color. Flashbacks shown in monochromatic blue and grayscale. Prepare for a green alien invasion and read Dragon Asylum by Art of Jerbear Comics, rated T.
Well, that was Dragon Asylum. Quite talking about that in her beautiful, mellifluent tones. Alright, so after that we have Gomulus and his musical themes. And this week he has given us a musical theme to a comic called Mortify, which is a comic by Pitface. We all know and love Pitface. So yeah, he's gonna play that for you, and I'll give it a bit of a spiel about that now. So Gummo's theme this week was to mortify, a sepulchral, highly evocative, almost dreamlike revere on the tenebrous existence of the penumbra between life and death, dark and light, where souls hang on the edge of oblivion. Take it away, Gumulus, with your theme to Mortify. that was our theme, Mortify, which is a comic by Pickface. So yeah, give it a little check. Gummels has done a nice theme to check and see if it matches up to that amazing comic by that amazing creator. All right, so now we're talking about Ozzy Osbourne. No, we're talking about talking about censorship. Ooh, it's a scary ghost because it is scary. It'll get you and it'll eat you and it'll kill you. It's evil. Censorship. Well, I mean, censorship is essential in some ways, but has to be limited. So I definitely don't agree with anyone who just goes laissez-faire. Just, whatever. No matter what. I disagree with that. There has to be limits. And the most obvious limits are what the Americans like to say. No shouting fire in a crowded cinema or crowded theater, which is if you have free speeches, they can say anything anytime. Well, you can shout fire and it'd be a prank and whatever. It's your free speech. But, then you have a stampede of people and you end up killing people, basically. And so you have to limit free speech in some ways. Like if you're like a radio personality or whatever, and you're inciting people to kill people, then that should be limited, because then that is related to that shouting fire in a cinema. That's exactly the same kind of thing, because you're inciting groups to commit atrocities or crimes, and you're not allowed to do that. Say this is American version of free speech. So free speech is different in all countries, and it's not the same. The American Constitution, which enshrines free speech, is not a thing that's in all places in the world. And where you do have free speech in different places, it's enacted in very different ways. So that always has to be remembered, doesn't it? I mean, like Canada.
I would venture to say.
I was going to ask Baines, how is free speech done in Canada?
We just sort of give each other sort of a blank look. Look a little bit over your shoulder, like looking at stuff, and then people know they've gone too far.
But do you have a constitution or like laws or something, or?
It's is it? I'm embarrassed to say I should know the terminology. I should know these things. We have a charter of rights and freedom. Free speech. Is it freedom of expression? Is that what we call it here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so you do have it.
And usually if you say some sorry, then that can get you out of the minor. You have to say sorry. Maybe you have to say sorry a couple times.
And damn it.
Well, then you're in trouble again.
I laughed so hard my hat fell off.
I'm pretty sure I've heard, and I think we have stricter laws against, libel and stuff like that. States. I think most places have stricter laws in terms of, you can be sued for hate speech or certain things that are hate speech adjacent or libel or so forth. I don't really know the details of it. I'm sorry to say. I'll go learn them afterwards.
Yeah, well, your citizenship is at stake, Baines. You have to know this stuff.
I know, yeah.
I'll deport you. I don't even know really about the Australian ones either. It's like similar to probably the Canadian ones, because we're still part of British Empire in some way. I'm not sure. Like it's weirdness. Commonwealth, yeah, that's it. I don't know. What about Greece?
Well, okay, so we have a constitution, and free speech is protected by the constitution. There are specific limits that are set, in the sense that the rule of thumb is, if it is not illegal, it is allowed. You are not, nobody is going to prosecute you for political speech or what have you, or being criminally stupid on the air. On air. However, if you incite, there are laws in place where if you incite violence, and if you incite things that are illegal, that is, if you incite racism, if you incite discrimination against certain groups, and if you, in general, if you incite, if you, with your speech you attack human rights, then that is illegal. You can be prosecuted for this, and there are specific definitions on how is this determined, because a court has to be able to go by certain rules on how this is a crime. And of course, we have laws against slander and libel. You cannot lie. You cannot lie on air. Like what Trump is doing would be illegal here. You cannot lie about things. Like you can state opinions that are notoriously false. They have to be opinions. You cannot lie about facts. That is a kind of libel, I would say. I'm trying to translate from Greek now, and also, especially, you cannot do that under oath. So if you lie under oath, or if you state as fact something that is false about stuff that concern the common good, or stuff that concern the state, or stuff that concern a certain person, then you can be prosecuted. And it is a misdemeanor that can be amplified to a felony, depending on ramifications, like specific aspects. So that's that's free speech here.
It's complicated. Yeah, I was looking up the Australian rights to it, and it's incredibly complicated, just like the way you were talking about there. There is mainly it's a right to guaranteed political expression. That's the main thing. So, and I think that's where most free speech is actually based around in most countries. Freedom of political expression, because it means, like, if you don't have freedom of political expression, then you can have dictatorships. And, people can, because, it's fair enough having, right to do this and that, but you haven't got the right to political expression, then that can kill all your rights no matter what. So it's useless, saying, oh yeah, but we should have the right to this and the right to that, if that main right is taken away, because that trumps everything else. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Like over here, unfortunately, and that is a state on our political history, in my opinion, we had the official Nazi party in Greece, which is Golden Dawn, or was even elected into parliament because it kept invoking these free speech protections for political speech. However, what got them basically canned, and most of them are in prison right now, and the political party had more or less had to be disbanded in a sense, was that they kept inciting violence against the people they politically disagreed with, and minorities and so on. So basically everyone that was not in market was in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
And that led to a series, like a couple of prominent assassinations that took place, which set a domino of that set a domino of persecution against them as now a criminal organization that uses hate speech to incite attacks on democracy and attacks on certain subgroups. So.
Yeah, I think we experience a similar thing in Australia when, you have this, when, there's obviously political parties that are sort of like, do the, what we call in popular speech dog whistles, but there were real Nazi parties, real racist ones who don't bother about the dog whistles. They were just real, and within those groups, there was violence and attacks on this and attacks on that, and they got done because of that, and then they got destroyed because of that, which is interesting because one of the things we were talking about before in our video was the idea of we can censor you, but you can't censor us, or we can attack you, but you can't attack us. And a very popular thing on social media a few years ago, especially Twitter when it was still Twitter, was punch a Nazi, and all these people supporting that. But the thing that I don't realize is, as soon as you make that the kind of thing, and they justify it saying, of course, these people are advocating for the end of us, so we should be allowed to, to actually take physical action against them. But the problem with that is, once that is allowed in a big way, especially, then that means they're allowed to do it too, or they will do it too. And when they start taking that step and moving towards doing that, they're more likely to get away with it and escalate it way further than you will, because that's their ballpark. That's the place they live. They love doing that kind of thing, and that leads directly to the path they want, your extermination. Yeah. So
what I would say, yeah, absolutely. Go on. Sorry.
I mean, and it's like they have their whole mutually assured destruction. The reason why we don't have nuclear war these days, because like North Korea, they want to end us. Oh, they want to do this. Oh, we should just nuke them first. But as soon as anyone nukes North Korea, what happens? Everyone's allowed to use nuclear weapons. So if you don't take that step, then sorry, Tans, go on.
I would advocate and something that has always really pissed me off, I'll be honest, and I cannot help seeing nefarious purposes behind it, is that instead of punching a Nazi, which I personally like, yeah, sure, I like to see that, but what I would prefer to see was to have being a Nazi be legal. Like the same way that if you say I am a gangster, that means that you are illegal. You
said illegal. I thought you said legal, and I thought, what the?
No. no, absolutely contrary. Make exactly what Germany did in this.
Yes.
And I absolutely feel that this is the correct way to go. Make being a Nazi illegal, because they are everything a criminal organization is. They are illegal. They are endorsing illegal tenets, or the ideology is basically murderous. So what are you doing? Making them, platforming them, and allowing them to be in the public discourse as if they are like yet another political party. They are not. They are a criminal organization. Treat them as a criminal organization. Lock them up. Don't let them be in normal society. Which is why, recently there was, I don't know if you're aware of Jubilee. Jubilee is this very sensationalist sort of show on YouTube that gets millions of views, where you have one guest that supports a certain view, usually a normal view, versus 20 people that are against him or her, and they basically do a quick turnaround debate where this one person debates these 20 people. And they had things like one doctor versus 20 anti-vaxxers and stuff like that. And recently they had one quote-unquote leftist person, that was Mehdi Hassan. And I say quote-unquote because he is left for American standards, for everyone else's standards, he's a centrist. Versus 20 conservatives, but they were not conservatives. They were out and proud Nazis. Like one of them actually said, I am a fascist and I support being like murderers to certain groups that I know I will never be a part of, so they can, basically die. And I'm fine with it by governmental prosecution. So but this entire framing is that, we have this valid view and this other valid view by these 20 people, and we bring them together to see who prevails and who can convince whom. And it's insane. You're basically saying here is a group that endorses serial killing, because that's what it is when you endorse eliminating whole subsets of the population. You are endorsing either their
mass genocide,
some other, so you are serial killers. That's what you are if you are endorsing that, versus this one other person that is against murder. Let's see how they will debate. How this is insane. This should not be allowed. This should be illegal, and that is where people don't get it, that they are being made to habituate to rhetoric that is and should be illegal because it is criminal, it is murderous. So that's what I would say. Like, instead of having punch a Nazi, yeah, sure, but better to lock a Nazi up and make it super illegal and round them up, like ICE is rounding up poor immigrants right now, like round up all the Nazis with the hackies and the tiki torches. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically any group that advocates things that are illegal should be
exactly
illegal. So, yeah, that's the real solution. I mean, I don't care if they call themselves Nazis or KKK or what they can call themselves, whatever they like. The point is advocating for vicious violence against other groups is a bad thing, and it should not be allowed, no matter what you call yourself.
Exactly.
So,
besides, people don't understand. They have this fallacy in their mind that whatever is going on against the one group, whoever this group is, I don't care. It doesn't matter. That it will never touch them, because they are not part of that group. And they don't realize that once one group's rights are breached, then everyone's rights are on the chopping board. Nobody is safe. All it takes is I don't know, like a stupid justification. They're eating the dogs, and then they are okay to be persecuted exactly how the previous group was persecuted. So
yes, that's why we have to, when we talk about Nazis, we just don't say, look, we arrest anyone who calls themselves a Nazi. We arrest anyone who calls themselves a Nazi, and they're actually talking about the things that make Nazis Nazis, like advocating for murder and
so they cannot be. Yeah, but you know
that's what I mean.
If someone,
I just want to clarify it because the point is, like what you were saying, once we take someone's rights away, then they can take away our rights. There's that thing. So we've got to make it very clear why we're doing this. It's not just because we don't like a group or we don't like the image or we don't like flags they've got. It's because they're advocating actively for like illegal things, like dangerous things that are bad for society. So bad
but
for
I would
all
say
society.
That if you are bold enough to say that you identify as a Nazi, I would be fine with you being persecuted, because that means that you endorse all the Nazi rhetoric, which has all these illegal things. I would not separate the two, because I do not think that entertaining the idea is not dangerous. Like, it's not safe. If someone says I am a Nazi, it means that they are okay with doing away with groups they don't agree with. And that is enough for me.
I just think the main point is always to say, yes, you're a Nazi. Nazis are being, like, we're having rules against that because of this. You're not saying, just because Nazis, because that's why people get away with saying like, but they've like the badness of Nazis is exaggerated in movies and all this kind of thing, and it's just all an image, and it's all like like we see it in Hollywood films, people dressed in their black uniforms, big scary baddies, like. It's not about the image. It's not about people strutting around in black shiny boots and hats and all this jackboot bullshit, all that. Just cut away all that rubbish in imagery. It's nothing to do with the uniforms or crap like that. It's to do with the stated political goals of these people, the social goals. That's why they're bad. It's nothing to do with the looks.
Exactly. And it's just that the look has become a very solid and very unmistakable symbol of all of these legal positions and intents. So, some symbols are illegal for a reason. So, and that reason is, mass murder, basically. So,
exactly. So anyway, we'll talk about that aspect of censorship, because the other idea is you cannot have full free speech. You have to have limitations on it for various reasons, social reasons, because you don't want to advocate killing and death of various groups and demonizing people. But you also don't want to make it legal for, I think there's slander, which is an issue. So you're saying that in Greek law, slander is, not particularly encouraged and all this kind of thing. And say in places like America and Australia and Britain, I don't know about the rest of the world, there's various laws and things about slander, and people can have legal redress if they think they've been slandered, and that unfairly hurts people who don't have money. If you've got money, you can slander whoever you want. But if you don't have money, you can be slandered as much as those people want to slander you, because you can't afford to defend yourself. So there's a problem there about that kind of thing. So slander is an issue. And it depends on the country how bad an issue that is. In Australia, we have this thing called parliamentary privilege. So if you're speaking during when Parliament is in session and you're, an elected representative, you can say whatever you want during that when Parliament is in session, and it doesn't matter, and you can get away with it during the privilege time. So they can slander whoever they want within that time, because that's protected speech. So that's
interesting because here when you speak from in Parliament, whatever. You are protected. You can say whatever you want except slander. So, and we have, unfortunately, another stain on our regime is that we have immunity, parliamentary immunity, and all sorts of immunities for everyone that gets elected. So you basically cannot prosecute them for anything, which is insane.
Like sounds like President Trump.
Exactly. That's exactly what is happening here. However, you can sue them for slander, and that they are not protected against that, even if it were, or actually, especially when it is from the podium of the Parliament, it is even more dangerous to slander someone from there. So, technically, at least, they are not protected from that, and they have been successfully sued for slandering people from the podium.
Okay.
However, again, that takes like a gazillion money to do. So, you have to be basically within that class of privileged people to be able to sue a parliamentarian for slandering you.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yes. So yeah, it's a bit unbalanced in the world. All right, Baines. What about you? I mean, you've had to go on mute because of the digging process through the computer. But
Once they stop digging,
what's the position on slander in Canada? Is it done often or?
I wish I knew more details on it, man. I'm gonna have to look this up. I do think that there is a version of parliamentary privilege as well, where there is protected speech. This might be a hole in my knowledge, but I haven't heard of someone being charged or chastened or whatever for slandering someone in Parliament.
Okay.
Yeah, so I couldn't say. I wish I knew.
Is it done by normal people? Do they slander others?
There's hate speech. There's slander or libel.
Yeah, there we are.
Which I think
Libel.
maybe, or defamation. One is written, one is verbal. So they have all that stuff.
So, does Gordo down the road reckon that someone's
like just between two, two citizens or something? Not that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, because Gordo's been telling me that Jack's been crapping in the waffles and that his maple syrup isn't as good as it should be. And that's going to lose money at the Waffle House, So.
Exactly.
There should be a law against that.
Ought to be.
But, okay. We've only got 15 minutes left, but what are you guys' experiences with actual censorship of creative media? Because, I mean, that's, I suppose, where we come down to it.
We had that. Oh, come. Oh, you go first.
Well, actual personal experience, I'm not coming up with anything, but I definitely remember being interested in the war against rock and roll lyrics. Speaking of Ozzy Osbourne, we touched on Tad earlier, past the RIP, but there was a whole thing against rock lyrics. I think it was centered on certain artists like Van Halen and stuff like that in the 80s. And Frank Zappa was a big voice for freedom of speech or freedom of expression in the arts. We go back, Tance has written about the seduction of the innocent thing, about that was about against comics, right? Wasn't it? In the 50s or something?
What?
Seduction of the Innocent in comics, and it resulted in the Comic Authority.
The Comics Code, yeah. Anyway, I've been interested in this kind of stuff against comics, against movies, against music. So it's been an ongoing thing that I've known about in the arts. I don't think I've been censored for that reason. I've had people take issue with something I submitted to a community project or something like, this isn't what it's supposed to be. That's different. Draw this better. No, I haven't heard that.
You're taking away
my
rights.
That's about it. Go ahead,
Ted. Yeah, over here it's been a bit of a clown show. Technically, no, we haven't had censorship of anything creative. There have been instances where you have these a small fringe uber religious groups that you can't miss. They are people brandishing huge crosses and icons and stuff like that. They are a sight to see.
Yeah.
that have been protesting and picketing certain movies or certain art displays and stuff like that, but nothing further than this. And usually when that happens, the artwork or the piece of art, whatever it is, gains a lot more popularity by everyone else. So it always has the adverse effect. I think the most, like the couple of instances I can remember of censorship of any creative work was it was on national TV like 20, not more, 30 years ago or so, where a movie by Pasolini, I think it was broadcast on national TV, and it got shut down by the prosecutor because national TV is accessible by all audiences, and it was not suitable for work. So because it was like very hard, like hardcore, explicitly sexual, and not only that, it was like weird sex. It got shut down like almost like I think 15 minutes into the movie, it just got pulled. But that's the only thing that happened, and it was for a very specific reason, because it was broadcast at a time zone where it was highly likely that children would be able to see it.
Yeah.
So it was before 10 in the evening or something like that. So that was one thing only, but the movie itself was not ever banned. You can see it, could see it, and can see it. And the other thing that I remember was that there is a political movie called The Red Train, and it is about the civil war in Greece, and it is very pro-communist and cites a lot of actual things that happened that put the side that was against the communist army in a bad light. So that was banned. That was the one banned movie that was banned for purely political reasons. There is nothing explicit in the film.
Yeah.
And that was done by, I think it was right-wing government in the saddle when that happened. But I don't remember exactly which decade that happened. It was either early 80s or late 70s, somewhere there, like just after the junta. But these are the only two instances where something was either pulled, but not banned, or banned altogether.
In Australia, we had like the refused classification. That was thing. So anything that was broadcast always had to be gone through the board of classification, and if it was refused classification, then it couldn't be shown. That was just it. Except in the regions, in two regions, in the Northern Territory, because classification only affect displays in states. And we have a whole bunch of states. We have two places called territories, and that's the Northern Territory, which is these huge, like basically middle northern state, but it's called a territory still. And we have the Australian Capital Territory, which is a special territory just in New South Wales, which is the big state with Sydney in it, which is a city everyone knows. But our capital city couldn't be within New South Wales, because that would be unfair to the other states. So they made a special microstate within New South Wales called the Australian Capital Territory, where our capital city is. And funnily enough, that is the one place where you could show unclassified things. So all the X-rated stuff and porn came from the place where our capital city is, which is very weird. It would actually, people would make porn.
Amazing.
In the ACT, where it was weird. It's like in Washington DC in America. So that was a very silly thing. But things would be refused classification if they had basically sexual stuff in them. Usually that was the thing. Horrific violence, maybe that would also disqualify them as well. but generally it was more just sexual stuff, or really really super graphic nudity that would but that would refuse things classification and give them X classification, whatever, which would limit their possible viewing. But there was also censorship, as in cut scenes. So a lot of films that were just as popular here as everywhere else would have some scenes cut out. So that's quite interesting. Like displays of certain body parts and stuff would be, those parts of the film would not be seen. So you could see the American version of something, or the Canadian version, or Greek version, or whatever, and it would be just a few seconds longer because it would have this brief flash of, pubic hair or something like that. So it wouldn't be seen in this version.
Right.
So yeah, that's
I think there was it might be like a fever dream, but I think I remember when I was still in elementary school that there were some there was a time where no, I must have been early junior high school, because when the private channels came on in when we had more than the two national channels, in the early hours of the morning, so 3 a.m., 4 a.m., there you could actually come across porn being broadcast on national television. But that I think ended really quickly, because I remember it was just like a fortnight of thing that happened.
Yeah, I mean,
so yeah.
So even in Australia, there were various times when that would get through, because I mean, this stuff is not a huge edifice. Things changed. So in the 1960s and 70s, there were changes in the laws and stuff, and the most popular soap opera was this thing called Number 96, and there's a series of films called Alvin Purple, and in Number 96 there were basically the normal soap opera stuff, except there was full-on nudity in that, broadcast on television during the 70s and then the late 60s, I think it was. And yeah, that went away when you came to the 80s. And the Alvin Purple was the same thing as a movie series where this guy was basically getting into the situation, and he was going off and bedding women all the time. They didn't show actual sex. It was just, just nudity and stuff like that. But and then in the 1990s, things changed again, and you had this TV show called Chances, and it was on after 11 o'clock at night, and suddenly it was legal to show full frontal nudity after 11 o'clock at night. So that's when you'd have things on.
We had that as well. Yeah, and I remember there was a series that was very stupid. The plot was it was a thing that happened, I guess. But they had explicit sex scenes. They didn't actually show hardcore stuff, but it was explicit. You could see full frontal, and you could see it after 11 o'clock. I think it was 11 or around midnight, somewhere there. So yeah,
changes. Yeah, things change. It's weird. So it happens. Oh, and
the 90s.
Yes, the 90s were a very particular time, but now it's much harder for people to regulate this because of the internet. And this is a subject we should have gone a lot more into, but we didn't. So maybe this is a two-parter, because it's important to start to talk about how the internet changed things. Yes.
Yeah, let's do it next time. So this is part 1.
Yes. Next week, it'll be more hardcore. So, bye-bye, people. We're going to the 90s next week. Bye-bye, people.
Bye.
This has been Quackcast number 750. I've been Baines. You've been Ozone Ocean, and Tanserine is...
He's closing the show.
There we go. Bye-bye, people.
Bye.
Aloha.
Bye.